recording, Mitch? All right.
Some thoughts for consideration. If we
Yes.
ever wanted to, we could implement Robert's rules and put a timing restriction on hearings if we ever wanted to.
Yeah. Yep. But let's see. Tonight, I think some of this we could probably get through pretty quickly, so we'll see. All right. So I'll go ahead and call to order this meeting of the Greenfield Conservation Commission at 6:31 p.m. on February 27th, 2024. Commission members present are Erica, Kristen, me, and it looks like Emily is here, although she was just approved by City Council, but is in the mandatory waiting period and hasn't been able to get sworn in yet. So soon Emily will also be a voting member. So that's exciting news, exciting update. All right. As you may have heard, if you are on the call right now, the Conservation Commission is recording this meeting. And if anyone else is recording the meeting, you're required to let me know. Also, because this meeting is being held virtually, if there are any technical interruptions and the meeting just suddenly ends, we probably won't resume and all items will be automatically continued to the next scheduled meeting date. So first on our agenda tonight, we have approval of minutes.
I'll motion to approve the meeting minutes from the last meeting.
Second.
February 13th. Sorry.
Okay. So we have a motion to approve the minutes. It was seconded. Any other discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote on approving the minutes. Kristen?
Aye.
Erica?
Aye.
All right, and I am also an aye. So the minutes from February 13th are approved. All right, so we do have a number of public meetings and public hearings tonight. So sorry to people who are later on the agenda, but we are going to try and go hopefully as quickly as possible while also still being thorough. So let's get to it. So the first item on the agenda for public meetings and public hearings is a public meeting, local notice of intent, single family house on Pickett Lane, map R23, lot 49B. The project involves site clearing and grading for the construction of a new single family house. So this one, at our last meeting, we closed the public hearing. And so now basically the two options are we either vote to deny the project or vote to approve the project and issue an order of conditions. We want to make a motion.
What are you looking? Are you looking for this between
Yeah,
those
we
two
just
options?
we just need a motion either to deny or to approve and issue an order of conditions.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the project and with specific order of conditions to follow.
All right. I'll go ahead and second that. So we have a motion to approve the project and issue an order of conditions. So now discussion on any conditions that we want in the order of conditions. I mean, obviously we have our boilerplate conditions about erosion control and things like that. At the last meeting, we had talked about potentially requiring markers on like the corners of the cleared area to designate, where no further clearing would be allowed. So I don't know if people have thought about that.
And also the property is in priority and estimated habitat.
Yeah, the property is, but not the work site area.
Right, so I don't know if we want to word that carefully, because in my experience, if the property intersects with priority or estimated habitat, you file with Heritage and get
Mhm.
their sign off on it.
Yeah, I guess I just don't know if that, um, I'm not sure if we have authority over that at all. Like, because I thought for us it was like if the project was in the habitat, then we have to wait, until there's a determination. But
Right, but once the property is sold, and we do have jurisdiction over estimated habitat. Once the property is sold, if there's nothing attached to if there's nothing recorded on the deed, they won't necessarily, the property owner won't necessarily know that they can't just do whatever in their
yeah,
backyard. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, I think so. So are you saying similar to uh similar to the some previous projects where we required that were in a riverfront area where the property was in riverfront area for Wetlands Protection Act. We required the deed to state that there was riverfront area, that no additional clearing could happen in riverfront area. Are you suggesting something like that for like our
Yeah,
local riverfront
yeah,
area?
and maybe even extend the language to, outside jurisdiction, like under MISA, that kind of thing. Not just under the Wetlands Protection Act, but maybe
Yeah.
safe to just,
I guess I'm not sure how enforceable it is for us to be, you know, requiring things that might not be required under the Wetlands Protection Act. That's kind of how I feel about that. Like I
yeah.
understand the wanting to have that, but
Yeah, and John and I talked about this last time. I disagree. If it were my project, I would have filed with Heritage if my
mhm,
property line intersected with anything out with any other state regulatory jurisdiction. I would have filed.
Kristen, we
mhm.
didn't do it in the past for the other site, and we weren't requested to do it by the board in the past. And I can just indicate my next door neighbor on to the west of to the east of my property has a substantial amount of real estate in the wetlands area, and there's no restriction on him other than the government restrictions that are in place. I mean, he can go in and into his backyard and do anything he wants, unless there's somebody policing it. I know
Which
what's
which
available,
is
and
what our responsibility is to
Right.
police what intrusions into wetland areas.
And also just to inform the landowner and any
That's,
future landowners that it is
yeah,
jurisdiction, that they can't just do what, I mean, I know it's private property, but this is Massachusetts, and that's just the way our state regulations are.
well, the landowner at present knows it, and while it'd be nice if it was stipulated in the deed, it's not typically done, and the from our perspective, we're going to be submitting the site plan as part of a building permit, and that becomes public record. So there's a lot of activity in the public sector that will show and document the fact that we're adjacent to the Neshap area. We're in the riverfront area. We've got and the site is pretty well documented along those lines.
I will just say, John, that if you send something to the town planning board or even a town conservation commission, it doesn't necessarily mean it's being reviewed by the state under a different regulatory umbrella. It doesn't.
Well, did any comment? Did we get any comments from the Mass DEP regarding the application at all? And did they say anything about us doing that sort of thing? Because
I
I
don't
think
think that
these things
it's,
were all stipulated on the drawings that were submitted to them. I would
Yeah.
think if it was interest to the state would take that action. It wouldn't be
Typically,
your board.
typically the state doesn't provide comments on an RDA to the state or a local notice of intent, because this wasn't filed as a notice of intent under the Wetlands Protection Act, and we only get comments from the state on notices of intent for the Wetlands Protection Act, which this was not. So that's why we didn't get that.
Okay.
All right. Maybe let's jump to the easier one. We talked about potential boundary markers. Do people feel those are needed or not? I don't know. I'm kind of leaning against it, to be honest, but I could go either way, I think. Or not boundary markers, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Some
like some kind of
clearing,
monumentation, like a
yeah.
boulder or something. To kind of create a no-mow zone or just some sort of visual barrier. Is that what
Yeah,
you mean,
and
Travis?
I mean, we could even leave it like very open and like, they're gonna have to come to us for certificate of compliance, and at that time we could review what they did and decide whether to issue the certificate of compliance or not. Just request request some marker, and then
Yeah, I like that. I
Hmm.
like it leaving it up
Okay.
to the applicant for proposing what works for them. I agree, not implementing something specific.
do we want to stipulate like a number, or I don't know.
I don't know. Could we say something like word it something like I don't know, clearly mark in some way without specifying a number or a size dimension or a material.
How about just clearly mark um like boundary of disturbance to be approved by the Conservation Commission. And then they could just come back and say, hey, we want to do this. And then we'll say, okay, that's good.
That works for me. What do you think, Erica?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about apparently there's the wood line is right there, right? Which should be a visual guide, but trees sometimes die and then.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
I saw Mitch unmute. Did you have something to add?
I think last time we had a demarcation, I mean, there was a violation, but it's because the line was in the middle of their yard, and with this will be a tree line at least.
Mhm. Okay. Well,
And I don't know if we want to say approved by commission or the agent, just in case
oh, that's true.
Oh,
we're
yeah.
busy.
True.
For administrative approval, that's a good idea.
Yeah. All right. I think that one seems good then. Clearly mark boundary of disturbance to be approved by Conservation Commission or the agent. So then back to whether we want a language in the deed identifying no additional clearing in local riverfront area.
Hmm.
And I guess I'm not sure how we would word, Kristen, what you were suggesting with
I don't know either, because this is a very unfamiliar, it's usually applicants file. Would we want to say something like, and maybe even be sure to include it in a COC, just so that the future landowner is aware that it's there unless the mapping changes, which it could in the
That's
future,
true.
because it changes every 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Sort of citing that it's there and that it is jurisdictional under both Wetlands Protection Act and also the ordinance and also MISA.
If we
Um,
can't enforce it, can we maybe just put our own kind of comment there that we highly suggest that this is filed, but in that way
Did-
it's on record that it's that kind of property, but
So can someone remind me whether it was priority habitat or
I think it's
estimated
both.
habitat?
I think it's both. So basically, priority habitat is habitat of rare species. Estimated habitat is a subset of priority habitat, and it's habitat of rare wetlands wildlife.
Hmm.
So because it has both, my suspicion is it's probably wood turtles, which is a wetland wildlife. And it's
Mhm.
also like the riverine corridor.
So how about this? How about, here's what I'm thinking. No additional clearing in um local riverfront area or priority or estimated habitat on the property without
Or permitting or something.
yeah, without additional permitting. That way we're, expanding it to the whole property, saying,
Yeah, I'm just trying to protect us on a potential appeal and all that, you know?
yeah.
Mhm.
But that's saying like if there is priority or estimated habitat, you need to file because we would, that would go before us too, right?
In a perfect world.
Yeah. Or
Did
do we
we
want to
also
just,
say,
yeah,
sorry,
go for it. Go for it.
which alternative we're approving? I think it was F,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should.
just on
And
record.
do we have an actual picture of F?
I submitted a revised site plan, which showed F, and a, um, enlarged site plan, which also shows F, and a new, uh, alternates analysis page, which lists F. So, I mean, it was all submitted to the commission.
Mitch, do you want to try and pull that up real quick? Um,
This was the one that's showing presently is the one that was included with the, referenced in the, RDA. That was one dated 2/15, and that was dated 2/13. And there's another one dated 2/15, Mitch.
that first one is 216.
It might be just a typo on the name of the PDF.
Oh,
Should have been 2/15 on the date of the issuance. You can open, can you open that
That
one?
was the one we saw.
that was the one we just looked at.
Oh, no.
Is it in the
Yes,
revised
that's
folder?
actually 2/13. Um, and
Oh,
that
yeah.
shows the additional grading a little bit clearer. And then there was one that I sent you on the, I think around the 15th.
I might just check my email to
Okay.
make sure.
All right. Yeah. While you're checking that. Okay. So, all right. So we've got, approving alternative F, clearly mark the boundary. Um, so I don't know. For the language for that, I'm thinking like no additional clearing in local riverfront area or other resource areas or resource area buffers. on property. I don't know. Is that getting too vague? I feel like we can't spend all night on this. It's just like,
Right.
just minor wordsmithing here.
Yeah, that's the one. Thank you, Mitch. I sent this for Kristen's benefit. This one also shows the wetlands.
Oh, thank you. Thank you
summary.
so much.
I apologize for the first time it wasn't on there. It didn't jump out at me that it wasn't there, but I had to go back and recreate it. But it was doable.
Thank you. I really appreciate this. I really do. This is huge. And then also this says chain link fence, but is that really what the landowner is proposing?
That's been part of the application from the beginning.
Okay. I mean, is that kind of a boundary marker, guys? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that goes outside the 6,500 square foot area. But it basically gives them a little bit more of
a
a
yard.
yard area that they can
Yeah.
ground in.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I walked
Mhm.
up and down that site a number of times, just with my dog. It was nice walking my dog out in that area, down the hill and towards the water. So, there's a little pathway down there that some picnickers have used from time to time. But
Do we have anything in there about erosion controls or is that boilerplate?
Are you asking about for conditions?
Conditions? Yeah.
Yeah, I think just general boilerplate conditions of installing erosion control, having the agent approve erosion control, have the agent confirm, that everything's done before the control comes out. That's all like boilerplate stuff.
Okay. But no details on what the erosion controls will be, like filter and sock or
I
silt
think,
fence or
it was
straw.
detailed on the site plan.
yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm trying
Can
to
you
check.
just remind us?
Fiber roll and silt fence. Fiber roll and silt fence.
Thank you.
Thank you. That sounds sufficient to me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I see it. It's over in the legend. Thank you, John.
All right. So I want to propose just going with the boundary thing as we said, and then if they want to say that that's their fence, then we could approve that if we think that works. And then I think we should just say no additional clearing in local riverfront area because anything outside of the clearing is riverfront area. And then
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
if they file, we could say, oh, did you file with NHESP? So
I mean, that makes sense to me. I'm just worried about like I said, protecting us on a potential appeal for any.
well, wouldn't that protect us the most by, I mean, I guess I'm curious what you mean by protect us against appeal.
I don't know. I don't want to go down a legal rabbit hole in a really full agenda.
Yeah.
But when
I guess
Chris
I will say we have done similar things on other properties that part of the property is in riverfront area. It was just for Wetlands Protection Act and not the local ordinance, but we say in our ordinance that we treat local riverfront area the same as Wetlands Protection Act riverfront.
right,
So
with the same performance standards applicable.
yeah. So I feel like, and yeah, I think for local ordinance appeal, it would have to be appealed to court I think it would have to go to court, Superior Court or something like that. Because it's not, you can't appeal to DEP because it's our ordinance.
Well, I don't think that the. Nope, I'm wrong. If you say the 100-foot local riverfront, then that does include all the prior and estimated habitat, right?
Well, I mean, if we just say riverfront area, like no additional clearing in riverfront area, I think all that
Oh, yeah,
habitat
it's the
would
whole
be in
site, yeah.
riverfront. Yeah, it's like the whole site.
Yeah,
But you are correct, Kristen, anything outside the 100-foot um, uh, is the area of clearing, and it precludes that NESHAP area. So in other words, the 100 front, anything beyond the 100 foot is inside the 100 foot would cover the NESHAP area also. In other words, if it was from 0 to 100 foot, it protects the NESHAP area.
right.
So are you good with that language? Erica, Kristen?
I'm good with it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that covers it because the riverfront includes heritage. I just, like I said, I'm just a little bit worried about that.
Yeah,
I would have liked to have had a negative termination from heritage, but
yeah. Well, I mean, hopefully this will, if there is additional work to be done, it would come before us and then we can request
yeah.
that to happen if it needs to.
There's also this anti-segmentation clause under MISA. And then if this never went before Heritage for review and they see like an expansion in the future, could really surprise the landowner.
Mm,
He will be held accountable for the prior application. But whatever, I think that covers us. I wanted on record that
yeah.
whatever, I've already said it.
Okay. All right. So to sum up what we have right now, we're approving alternative F, which we just reviewed again. We have a condition to clearly mark the boundary to be approved by the Conservation Commission or the agent, the boundary of the cleared area, and have the deed state no additional clearing in the local riverfront area without additional permitting. Anything else in addition to the boilerplate stuff that we mentioned before? All right, hearing none, let's vote on the issuing the order of conditions. Kristen,
Aye.
Erica?
Aye.
Right, and I am also an aye. So we will be issuing that order of conditions, John, and thanks for coming back for yet another meeting.
Well, I'll see you guys again in the future. I've
I'm sure.
got some activity on the adjoining lot to my north, and hopefully I'll put something in front of you that you can sink your teeth into then. So,
All
We
right.
appreciate all the work you did. That was a really excellent alternatives analysis. We really appreciate it.
hopefully I won't have to go through that on the next one.
Yeah.
We'll see what I come up with, and thank you very much. And
All right.
Drew, you got an approval.
Yep.
Yeah,
All right.
thanks, guys. I was on here all the
Congratulations,
time, but
Drew.
Yep. All right. Have a good night.
All right, thank you very much. Good night.
Night.
All right, so next on our agenda, we have public hearing notice of intent bank stabilization at Green River Swimming Area, map 27, lot 18, DEP file number 168356, continued from February 13th, 2024. And Mitch, I don't see
Yep.
them here, so
Nothing yet. Yeah.
uh,
Continue
this-
to March 12th.
All right. And so just to clarify, so they're waiting on a response from Natural Heritage, is that right?
Yeah, I still don't have a determination from Heritage.
And that's like to approve their plan that they,
Yeah, I'd like do a state that's a no take or
yeah,
whatever.
okay. All right. So what did you say the date was for the next meeting?
It's March 12th.
March 12th. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and make a motion to continue that public hearing for DEP file number 168356 to our next meeting on March 12th at 6:30 p.m.
Second.
Right. So we have a second. Any other discussion on that? All right. So we will vote on that continuance. Erica,
Aye.
Kristen,
Abstain.
and I am an aye. So two votes as a majority. So that passes, and that will be continued to our next meeting. All right. Hey, we're through two things already, and it's on 7:02. All right. So next we've got public meeting request for determination of applicability invasive species removal at 108 Deerfield Street, map 24, lot 39, continued from February 13th, 2024. And I'll just read on the agenda the little summary here. The project proposes the cutting of approximately 20 small Norway maple saplings, 3 privets, 3 mulberry trees, and 3 larger Norway maples atop the slope by the abandoned Mead Street and east of the Green River. The stumps will be left in place. And so I believe at our last meeting, we had some questions. I think the main question was, could a large shade tree be planted? And so we were we were asking for a response to that. It looks like Nancy's here for that.
Yes, I'm here to represent Dorothea and the condo group there. And yeah,
Welcome.
and there's a map that they sent in to Mitch. And if Mitch
Yeah.
could put that up on the screen, that would be really helpful. And
Thanks.
can you, there you go. Okay. So it was really interesting. So the yellow portion is the portion that is their property. That's the edge of their property.
Mm,
So the other, and you'll see a couple of circles that have X's in them. Those are
Mhm.
trees that were planted by the developers, but have
Mhm.
died.
no.
Okay.
And then all of these blue circled trees it was interesting. They looked again at all of the saplings that were growing in the area, and they were able to determine actually that several of the ones that they originally thought might be Norway maples are in fact silver maples. So that was really interesting. And
Mm,
so as you'll see, there's the big walnut tree on the left area and a big silver maple on the right. And then all of these other ones are small saplings, but as you can see, there's a huge number of native trees that are coming up. The other thing it doesn't show on this map is that there's an electric line that runs over this kind of area, like between their lot line and down to Mead Street. So, and that's very, very steep. Actually, I walked down on Mead Street. That was interesting. And I could see that the utility company had been in there recently and had cut a lot of the trees that were on the hillside in order to keep them from getting up into the power lines. And I think, well, the other interesting thing, which has nothing to do with you guys, but the people who live in the condo are going to be approaching the city, and they would like to plant some trees down near Mead Street, which I think is really gonna be, enhance that area. So the answer is they're not. There was one tree here that's circled in red. So that is a possibility of planting one tree, which is a white cedar, I guess. So are there
Okay.
any questions? And I guess, well, if you look at which way south is or which way north is, however you want to look at it, is so it's the trees over in the left-hand part of the picture that you know, there are a couple of baby saplings there, and they'll just have to keep their eye on, see if they get too tall. But that's the area that could shade the solar panels. The other ones to the right that are not in any, would never shade them because of their location.
Mm. Kristen, I think this was your question at the last meeting. I'm just wondering if you feel that answers your question fully.
Yeah, I guess, is white cedar like, I feel like that's like a bog species. Is that proposed to be
I
planted?
actually don't know that much about white cedar. I probably should have looked it up for you.
I know we did say that we wanted stuff that's native, but I'm wondering if, and I'm not, I just
Which
feel
kind
like-
of white cedar is it?
Oh, yeah, white cedar is native. But
Is
I
it
was,
Atlantic or northern white cedar?
Yeah, thank you, Emily.
I was looking it up recently.
Yeah, because
It's on
that
my
makes a
mind.
difference. Thank you.
are the Atlantic and North, are those two different species?
They're different. They're different.
Oh, okay.
Trying to remember which one is arborvitae. I think it's the northern white cedar and the Atlantic white cedar. And they're
Yeah,
both
and then that's like a bog
native,
species.
but in
Yeah.
different areas. Yeah. And the Atlantic white cedar is definitely
Northern.
Yeah, so I guess long story short, if it's a species that's going to thrive in a bog environment that's kind of regionally rare, I don't know if it's gonna survive on a
It
riverbank.
doesn't sound like what they intended to choose,
Or I mean, unless it's like Emily was saying, maybe arborvitae.
which is
Yeah,
what,
I'm.
Atlantic North? What did you
That's
say?
the northern.
The northern.
Arborvitae is northern. I just
Okay,
looked it
well,
up.
maybe you could specify that if they do plant that it's a northern white cedar.
Yeah.
I don't want to drag this out, but I mean, if they are planting solar, that's an evergreen and it will probably block more solar than I think what
Well,
our intention was.
Actually, if you look at the location, it's not in front of where the panels are.
Okay.
It's way off to the west.
Well, I'm good as long as it's native, but with a spin on what's going to be successful given the habitat.
Right, but they did discover that there's several silver maples, sapling
Cool.
that are
That's very
there
cool.
that they hadn't realized were there. And so, and a volunteer tree is much more likely to be successful than something they have to plant. So,
Agreed.
Right.
And at our last meeting, we did look at, I think we looked at the list of species that they were proposing to plant. So, yeah.
right, there's a bunch of shrubs that they were also planning on planting,
Mhm.
and herbaceous things, but
Yeah.
Right. And I think we also just said, as long as they're native to the county, we're fine with that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I like the
So,
aronia. I like the prunus. I like the blueberry. I love the amelanchier.
so I guess Mitch, thank you again to Mitch for putting together our little cheat sheet of you know, of all these projects and things to think about. I mentioned that If we were going to not require them to file an NOI for this, it would probably be a negative determination type 2, which is that it's in a resource area but won't alter the resource area. And then we could add conditions to that if we want to. Do you feel like we have enough
I'll-
information?
Yeah.
I think Erica does.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Well, I like that map actually. I was looking at that. That was very helpful. Still, yeah, I'll make a motion to issue a negative determination for the invasive species removal and planting on Deerfoot Street. Type 2.
Sorry, I'll second that, Erica.
All right. So we have a motion for negative determination was seconded. And just that's 108 Deerfield Street, just to specify.
Sorry.
That's okay. I just had it in front of me. Okay. Is there any discussion on that? Are there any conditions people would want to see in place for this? I think the main thing, I don't believe they were planning on doing any herbicides.
So that's correct.
Yeah. I guess we could have a condition that just specifies, no herbicide use, just in case, I think that's something that we typically ask for in similar situations. If
I think
it's in a,
I think there was a little talk of it, and we said they need to come back for that, I think, or something. If they really
yeah,
want
I
to
think
go
that was
forward.
in a different project, right?
Was it? I thought it was this one too, but okay.
Oh, maybe it was.
I don't know.
Maybe it was. Luckily, there have been a lot of invasive species
Yeah.
removal projects lately.
I know, that's so nice. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, and I would just kind of, again, like we've already talked about, just reference the native species to the county.
Yeah.
Yeah. Native to county. This is a discussion for another day, but just to have it in people's minds. I attended this talk where people were talking about preferring native species to be planted where we're on the northern edge of the range, so that those species are more likely, as the climate becomes more southern
Oh.
here, they're more likely to thrive than if we plant things that are in the southern part of the range. It might start getting too hot here, and they would actually want to be moving north. So that's even more complicated, and we don't need to talk about that tonight, but just something to think about, I guess.
It does seem like this applicant is thinking about all of those things. So.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, so we have two things, no herbicide use and planting native species to the county. I think that's
Do we need to
probably-
put in the Dalcolina reference in that condition for a reference list of species native to the county? Or is that too much?
I don't know if we usually do. I don't, Mitch, do you know how we usually word things like that? Do we just say
I think it
native
just
to
says
the
native
county?
to the county.
Yeah. I think that's what we usually say.
We might want to put that reference in
Like
because,
as identified by,
yeah, because that is like a pretty standard Massachusetts guide for Massachusetts
Yeah.
county plant list. Versus like a nursery, what they have in stock and cultivars and stuff like that.
so I'm trying to find what it's actually called.
Oh yeah, Atlantic white cedar is not in Dalcolina.
So I think it's called The Vascular Plants of Massachusetts, a County Checklist by Melissa Dow Kalina et al.
Yeah. 2011.
Yeah, first revision 2011. So I guess Mitch, if you could add that to native plants as identified by
I just think that's a
that
strong
source.
reference and it's easily accessible and free,
Yeah,
not interpretable by a nursery
yeah.
who wants to sell something.
Okay. Any other conditions or feel that's good? All right, hearing none, we will vote on the negative determination type 2 for 108 Deerfield Street with the two conditions as discussed. Erica,
Aye.
Kristen,
Aye.
and I am an aye. So that is the approval, I guess, for that project. So thank you to
Thank
everyone
you all.
involved there.
Thank you all for your, really looking at it carefully. Dorothea and everybody, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
We appreciate you
Yeah,
getting rid of invasive species. Thank you.
yeah,
And planting native species.
It'll be a great project.
Yeah.
They've been doing amazing stuff with that property, so.
Good.
All right. Thanks. So that's another one down on our agenda for tonight. Moving along here. So next we have a public meeting extension for determination of applicability, building expansion at 105 Mohawk Trail, map 46 lot 23. The description on our agenda says the building expansion project is being finalized. The determination of applicability currently expires on March 3rd. I assume that means 2024. Yeah, so do we have someone here for that project?
Yeah, that's me. Hi,
Hello.
my name is Effie. I am here in regards to that project. A few years back, we had come through and asked to have this done, the RDA. And we were first trying to just do the construction on the building, which we've got the majority of that part done. We still have to do some of the construction inside, which requires heavy equipment and whatnot. So we haven't gotten to the actual parking lot yet. We had a lot of work done this past year, and I was actually hoping to try and get like the parking lot and this RDA cleared up by the end of the year. But some of our contractors that were doing the inside work, they didn't finish until like mid to late December. And then when we had the additional contractors come in, they said, oh, well, now it's winter. We'll have to wait until the spring. So we are in the process of scheduling when we can get everything done for the like the parking and everything else that is in regards to the RDA finished. We just needed to know if we could get a little bit additional time to for that. We're not changing anything within the conditions. We're not asking to do anything of that nature. We're just asking for a little bit more time.
And are you asking for like a 1-year extension or 3-year or?
I think one should suffice. I mean, I wouldn't mind if you could put two just in case, but like I said, we are in the scheduling process to get everything wrapped up this year. Because as you guys know too, it's not really beneficial for us to have it that way too. We're really trying to finish it up and just, complete this project. So that's what I would ask for if I could.
Okay, thanks. And Mitch, I know you kind of looked into RDA extensions, things like that. I don't know if you want to just give a little brief
Yeah,
summary about that.
so it's not typically done. This is from the MACC handbook.
Mhm.
Sounds like the regs are silent on the process, but MACC said just a controversial DOA shouldn't be extended.
Probably should not be extended.
Probably, yeah. So it
Yeah.
doesn't seem like you can't do it from what this says.
Yeah.
Seems like there's discretion there. And then if we wanted to go off kind of the same standards from an OOC extension,
Mm,
um,
mhm.
which wouldn't be granted if no work has begun, if there's any violations. Um, the regs have been amended,
Yeah,
so
not yet.
yeah.
I have a
Okay.
question, Mitch. So I was always under the impression that you cannot extend a determination. It's 3 years and that's it. But what if there is that, does the COVID tolling extension apply to DOAs?
Yeah, so it was extended from COVID. I think that's running
Oh,
out too.
this includes the tolling extension?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was our main issue because I had contacted Mitch at some point because I needed to know when it was going to be extended because I had foreseen that with the contractors that we were dealing with that there was going to be an issue. And again, I didn't want to try and finish up the RDA work and then have other, equipment come in and then could potentially put in danger the work that we already did for the lot itself.
Yeah, Kristen, so I guess MACC is saying that we can do it if we want to. That's kind of what it sounds like.
I was
You
always
could-
under the impression that you can't.
I don't
That's
know.
that's what I've, as a consultant was always told.
Well, and it might depend on the Conservation Commission too. Like
Yeah,
maybe some just take a hard line and say, no, you can't, and others are more flexible and let people do it. So, I mean,
I've always been told no,
yeah.
which I don't like to say. I don't want to, I don't like that, but I'm afraid to step out on a limb if I've been doing this for 20 years and I've never been told that I can do it,
Mm,
you know?
mhm.
I'm uncomfortable with this.
But if Mitch didn't find anything, right? Mm,
Yeah, should we look at pictures or?
I have a question. So is the standard procedure to do another RDA?
It sounds like that's what you're saying, Kristen, right? They would file a new
That's what
RDA.
I've been told every time I've asked this question in the past. Yeah, that's across the state. Which kind of stinks.
Well, maybe we should be the change we want to see in the world. But I understand not wanting to like do something that's not done. Yeah, I guess I don't have the experience you have with them, and I just read this that Mitch, grabbed from the handbook, and to me, I just reading this, I was like, well, okay, it sounds like we can just extend it then.
Did you say, Effie, that you're halfway through or you're 90%? What's the percent complete of your project?
For this RDA, we are looking to get it done by the summertime.
What
Like-
percent complete are you?
We have already done percentage wise, I can't exactly tell you a percentage, but we've already put up the retaining wall along the back borderline of the property. So that way we're not anywhere near the wetlands from what we had agreed upon when we originally started. So now essentially it's just doing the erosion controls, the rain garden, and fixing the lot itself.
So you're still doing work in jurisdiction?
Yes and no. We are within the bounds, but we filed the WPA form and they allowed us to build the wall, which allowed us to not have any more contact with the wetlands itself.
So it's just wetland buffer area now. I don't know. I guess my I still feel like, if it's a project that seems like it's on track and almost done, or mostly done. Um,
Don't forget that we're setting a precedent. You
yeah, yeah. I guess I don't
Well-
remember a specific example, but I thought we had done this before. But I can't think of a
ORADs can be
specific example.
extended, but determinations can't.
Yeah, and I know we've
So-
extended orders of conditions.
Yeah, orders
But-
and ORADs can be extended, but determinations are 3 years.
Mm.
But Effie, if you had to refile, would that halt construction? Are you in active construction right now?
Somewhat, we were hoping to start like within the next week or so, once we got everything scheduled in. So I don't know how long it would take, because we don't want to have to prolong it any longer than we have to.
Yeah. Just to be clear, there are no wetlands impacts. Otherwise, you would have filed a different permit application. So this is just for buffer zone,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Mhm. And like I said, too, the majority of the work was already done in the past in regards to the wall that they had us put up and everything else. So this is just to finish out the front part of the property.
Yeah, so this started as an NOI, and then I guess they ran out of time and then wanted to finish it with an RDA. Is that right?
Seems weird.
The part of the project that required an NOI was done.
Mm.
And so then it filed as an RDA for the remainder of the project.
So
Yeah.
if, I'm just curious if the remainder of the project is under the NOI then? Like if the stormwater component is, if it's outside of buffer zone, for example.
Are you asking if it was in like the original NOI or?
Yeah, I guess I'm confused as to what exactly the work that is remaining to be done and if that is in jurisdiction and if
So
maybe there would be some wiggle room for us there.
the remaining work to be done essentially is to regrade the parking lot. And I have the map in front of us. It has like erosion controls, the rain gardens, and that is all within that section away from the buffer zone.
Mitch, do you mind sharing a figure showing that, what Effie's talking about? So I can see what she means.
This is what you mean?
Yeah, so. Oh, the whole thing's in 100 foot pretty much?
Mm-hmm.
How did this not need an NOI? So the
Well-
parking
Well-
is,
Oh,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
I'm assuming north is up, so the parking's on the kind of southwest corner?
Yeah, so the bottom portion of it is the road itself. And then the parking is like up and behind it a little bit where the gas station is, like on that section. And then the other side is towards the school.
So you still have to do construction up to close to the 25-foot buffer zone.
What do you mean when you say construction?
Like the grading
Parking?
in the parking lot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All of it is kind of up to the wall. And that wall is that dark black one.
Yeah. Mitch, do you want to share the photos too, real quick? That might help visualize, what's there.
Yeah, so sign is still there. Yeah, redo the erosion controls.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's redevelopment?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense, okay.
And the flagging is still down there. And then I grabbed some images off of just Google Maps just to show kind of before and after and during construction.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think this has been going on since I've been on the Conservation Commission.
Yeah, and
This
this
project.
year we are finally finishing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I was gonna say, I'm trying to remember, I think what happened, back in 2019, you kind of came back to us and we, I don't know, the order of conditions had expired and I don't know,
Mhm.
instead of having them file a new NOI, I think we did the RDA to, I don't know, I think
Yeah, that's
does that
what
sound familiar?
Yeah, because I remember the agent at the time, Trajette, or her last name, I can't.
Yeah, Cassie.
It
Cassie.
was
But
Cassie, yeah, I
she,
think.
yeah, she had approached me, and that was her best solution for that situation, was to go that route. So that's what I did, what she said.
Mhm.
Yeah, and because still, like Kristen said, it's like we're still trying to repurpose the lot with that building. That's why we didn't do a lot of this work yet, because we didn't want to like do it and then have issues with the building itself. So we're trying to finish that so that way we can at one time, just get everything in place.
So wait, if the RDA was filed in 2019. Oh, and then, okay, so then we're the March 3rd is the end of the
Yeah,
462. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Ah, this sucks.
Complicated one.
Yeah.
I guess for me, and I don't know as much legal stuff as Kristen does, but since they're not asking for anything new and they're continuing with the plan that they were already doing, and there hasn't been any other complaints from anybody,
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, I get what you're saying, Kristen, especially about not setting a precedent, but you don't want to get into a can of worms, but
I know. I feel the same way, Erica. I'm really torn. I have no personal objection to this, but I feel like the procedure is against it. And I don't know.
I mean, it's just
Hmm.
one of those things that we can, I don't know, somehow just the precedent is that we can determine on case by case. And, you know, no.
I wish the MAC conference was last weekend and
I
we could
know.
Would have
ask them.
asked them that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm leaning towards just extending it, like a 1 year extension.
I would be fine with that. Whatever you guys, decide. Just because, I'm ready to get it done.
And Kristen, that maybe limits the precedent that we're setting. Like, okay, maybe you'll get a 1 year extension, maybe not. Not like a full 3 years, I don't know. I think I'm going to make a motion to extend the determination of applicability for 105 Mohawk Trail.
I'll second it.
All right. Any
Like
further
Kristen said.
discussion?
Yeah, if I nay this, do we get quorum?
If you vote no, well, it depends who votes what.
Okay.
If two of us vote yes and one of us votes no, I think that passes.
Okay.
Mitch, because I think only for our ordinance says to like orders of conditions require 3 votes. But I think in general, we continued things. We continued
Mhm.
something on the agenda with 2 votes. I think 3 is only needed when it's
It's just
like
for
issuing
overnight.
an order of conditions.
Okay. Because I
And
really don't want to cause you drama, Effie, but I'm uncomfortable with this. I'm like, my palms are sweating. I'm uncomfortable.
Well, I just vote your conscience, I guess. Is what I have to say.
Okay.
Well,
That's
could
your
we,
job.
did you want to put in something like we could have check-ins just so that way you can verify that it's gonna be, done and on time or I don't know, what would help?
Yeah, I guess Mitch, do you happen to have the like any conditions that we had on this project already?
Yeah, I could pull them up. I know part of it was that all of the conditions for an order conditions was included.
Okay. So, I mean, there's probably conditions already that says, that we can check in on the site and, ensure things are being done properly. And all right, any other discussion? I'm not trying to pressure anyone. I know we have a full agenda and I'm trying to not just have a bunch of dead time.
I appreciate that so much. Thank you, Travis.
All right, not hearing any, we'll vote on issuing an extension to the determination of applicability for 105 Mohawk Trail. Erica,
Aye.
Kristen,
I'm
For
gonna say
what?
aye, because I'm just like
okay.
pestering another agent of mine, and I'm like, come on, what is this ever possible? And
And
all right, so they're saying if Stinson was here, he'd be really upset about that. You can't extend those, but if nothing's changed, the commission could potentially reissue as long as it's not controversial, but DEP would be very grumpy about that. So I'll say yay. I'll say yay.
Thank you.
they can be grumpy sometimes.
I've never
And I'll-
voted nay in anything, so I hate to do that, and I don't want to.
gotta vote no
I'm not gonna let you down. We're gonna be done with it.
I
as
just
soon
wanted
as
to-
possible.
Stay within our jurisdiction.
No,
and
I know.
the way we're
If we
supposed
could
to
have
do
been done
things.
with it tomorrow, we would be done with it tomorrow.
I believe you. I do.
Be
All
done
right.
with it as soon as possible.
I'm also gonna vote aye, by the way. So that's three votes. So that we will issue that extension for 1 year. So
Awesome.
good luck.
Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you guys and your time.
Thank you.
All
Good
right,
luck.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Good night.
All right.
Look at it
Moving
this way,
along.
Kristen. What Mark doesn't know won't hurt him.
I know, and they don't review RDAs, so he won't know, but
Yeah.
okay.
All
Sorry.
right. That's
Moving on,
okay.
guys.
We got two more public meetings / public hearings. So
I gotta send it to him for his files, but
yeah.
see what he
So-
says.
Yeah.
Just like MACC says it, so
Yeah. Ask for forgiveness, not permission, right?
That's right.
All right. So next we have a public meeting, request for determination of applicability, structure repair at 40 to 42 Coleraine Street, map 48, lot 12. The project proposes the repair of a concrete wall, installation of 4 sonotube footings to the front of the existing deck, and the installation of 6 sonotube footings to accommodate rear repair of the existing deck. Do we have someone here for that project?
Yep, I'm here as Bob O'Bear for EDS Enterprises.
Oh,
How are you tonight?
good, good. Do you want to, maybe Mitch can share some materials and maybe you can kind of walk us through?
Sure. So it's an existing 4-family property on Coleraine Street. We've recently been taking that project on to do some renovations. There was some work that was previously started by the previous owner. So our work includes basically repairing the front concrete wall of the structure, right along the Coleraine Street itself. It's approximately about 25 to 30 feet of concrete wall, as well as the installation of approximately 4 new sonotube footings. The rear of the property, we're looking to install 6 new sonotube footings to support a new rear deck structure, fire escape system for the building. There's an existing one that's there now that's in poor condition and deteriorated that's going to be removed and replaced. As sort of a late entry, speaking with Mitch, we also are looking to install a guardrail. The driveway parking area is behind the building. And as you can see on the elevations, there's a steep embankment that drops down to the protected area below. We're looking to install sort of a pressure treated guardrail system so that no one drives their vehicle off that embankment into the resource area below. So it's a pretty simple project. It's really just a renovation. Just looking for the board's blessing on site control, whatever type of site controls they'd like to see there. I can honestly say there's going to be little to no impact with the sonotubes. The front of the building is pretty isolated as well from the resource area. We propose to just set up some erosion controls. The project should probably only take about a week to get that part of the work done. I don't know if there's any comments or questions. I'd be happy to answer.
Yeah, and I will just point out for everyone else that this is almost adjacent to Miller's Meadow. And there's like one parcel in between. And so it looks like it's in the outer 100-foot riverfront area for Maple Brook, coming out of the culvert under Coleraine Street. And it's in like the 100-foot buffer for the wetland, bordering vegetated wetland there.
And that's a perennial stream, so it's state and local for outer riverfront.
I believe so. It's kind of a weird stream because it like most
Oh,
of
yeah,
the
that's-
stream is just running in culverts under the city.
Oh, but there's the Green River back there. Or is that way far away?
Yeah, the Green River's too far away.
Okay,
But there's a
gotcha.
smaller stream that
Okay,
technically I'm not exactly sure how to. I mean, it's like emptying out of the stormwater system, draining like the whole city, almost not the whole city, but a big part of downtown.
The photos do help shed some
Yeah. And the interesting thing is that this stream is the same stream that comes out of Highland Pond, and then it goes in. It used to flow all the way through downtown and come out here, and then it got put into culverts and everything. And so,
interesting.
um, so
I believe this is taken more from the overpass a little bit west of the property.
Yeah, this is the neighboring house to
Yeah.
the project.
the one on the left is north. So we're looking west, and the house on the left is north of the project house, right?
Mm.
Is that confusing?
It's the house to the left of that house.
To the left of the White House, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, it's hard without looking at a map. I know that was difficult.
Yeah, so this is just the deck.
And right now, the on the front of the house, the old porch has been removed, and it's just currently being supported. The roof structure is being supported temporarily. That's what those posts are there. There was a previously there was an existing porch on the front of the house.
That's the limit of work area right there, Mitch?
Yeah, so the erosion controls would be somewhere in here, and then there's kind of a dip here, and then the stream further back,
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, like I
And
said, we
so-
don't have any real plans to excavate. I mean, we're just gonna be placing sonotubes.
Mhm. And I'm pretty sure, so I'm looking at minor activities that are not subject to regulation. One of them is conversion of lawn to uh, a deck, shed, patio, pools.
Well, that was an existing deck there that was removed for
Mhm.
replacement and work paused. It was previously a building permit for this project under the old owner.
Does that permit by any chance predate 1996 or whatever?
No, no. No, I don't believe that the previous permit went before your board. My understanding, if I could, I wasn't aware of it. It wasn't done by me. Like I said, it was the previous owner.
So the area is impacted, but not really disturbed as an impervious.
Correct.
Okay.
I would say there'll be minimal impact. We'll be excavating about 2 feet off the front of this wall to replace the damaged concrete wall.
Do you have a photo of the damaged concrete wall?
Well, it's kind of non-existent. You just see there's some wood there. There is no concrete wall there. It's missing. The bricks collapsed. You can see the pile of bricks.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I mean the lawn to deck. I mean, essentially it's lawn. Um, that that's a minor activity that's exempt.
Aren't accessory structures also kind of exempt?
Yeah, it said or sheds. Um,
Is there a required egress for the apartments? I mean, I believe it would probably just fall under a repair, but I'm not sure.
mhm. Yeah, so Kristen, it says the following minor activities are not otherwise subject to regulation. E is the conversion of lawn to uses accessory to residential structures such as decks, sheds, patios, pools, replacement of a basement bulkhead, and the installation of ramp for compliance with accessibility requirements, provided the activity, including material staging and stockpiling, is located more than 50 feet from the mean annual high water line within the riverfront area, bank, or bordering vegetated wetland, whichever is farther, and erosion and sediment controls are implemented during construction.
Sounds good to me.
Mhm.
Is
I
there
guess
gonna be
so.
any stockpiling at all?
Not really. I mean, the front area, I mean, there will be a brief moment where the material is excavated so that we can place concrete and it'll go immediately back in. But as you can see, that front area can be easily contained. We can cover the piles. You know, there will be some material there for probably 2 days, 3 days tops. Only in the front of the house. The back, the sonotubes will be dug, placed, and backfilled on the same day with minimal disturbance. The only, the disturbance for the guardrail is really, the same thing. We've got a packed gravel drive on the edge of the embankment. It would be more intrusive to try to set up some sort of a silt fence than to just dig one sonotube at a time, place it, control it, backfill it. It's done. To attempt to dig in some sort of a silt fence or more permanent erosion control would actually disturb the area quite a bit more than the work we're looking to do.
Bobby, would you be amenable to like a 9-inch or 12-inch wattle as opposed to silt fence?
Is that like the filter sock?
No, filter socks are better, but they're more expensive because you have to
Yeah.
have a truck come in and blow the chips into
Right.
the sock.
Right.
So straw wattles come on pallets and then you just have to stake them like every 10 feet on center or whatever.
Sure. Is that like a tube filled with straw?
Yep.
Yeah,
And
I
then
know
you
what you're
just have to
talking about.
kind of come through and remove the plastic netting when you're
Yep.
done and you can just spread the straw.
That would be the ideal solution, and almost to do it as sort of like a sonotube by sonotube, so to speak, to just kind of like isolate each one, backfill it, you could move the control to the next area. I mean, it's really very minimal. We're not looking to make any type of impact other than improving the neighborhood.
Mhm. Yeah, I guess I was just gonna say the only part that seems like it doesn't fall under the exemption is, creating that
Guardrail.
the guardrail back
Yeah.
there. That's not exactly an accessory structure or deck or anything, but
It does prevent someone from driving their car into the resource area, which will make a
yeah,
lot bigger impact than
yeah. I mean,
it's
I was
quite
gonna
steep.
say
I
that,
think it's a 75-foot drop right there.
wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was gonna say it is similar to asking someone to create a boundary,
Right, I
so
was
that
just gonna
people
say,
don't
yeah,
go into the resource area.
right.
So I think Mitch's suggestion was if we didn't think there would be an impact to the resource area, negative determination type 2. I guess in a resource area, but won't alter because it's in the riverfront of that
Oh, right.
stream.
Yeah. So does that still mean it's type 2 if it's in a resource area but won't alter it? I gotta pull up the cheat sheet.
Yeah, it's within an area subject to protection under the act.
Okay.
That's what that one. Because the
Okay.
3 is within the buffer zone.
So am I overcomplicating this by asking for the guardrail at the same time as so it sounds like the bulk of the project is not applicable.
Yeah, no, I think it's fine to, I think it's better to do it all at once than,
Correct.
yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that's easier for us too. Because we can just say, oh, some parts are exempt, but other parts are this.
Yeah.
Kristen, did I answer your question?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm ready. I just didn't know if we had questions from the public before I
Okay.
push along.
Well, I guess this one's a public meeting, so technically we don't have to have questions from the public, but I guess if there are questions from the public, we could answer them. The next one's a public hearing.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. I'm not hearing any questions from the public, so if you wanted to make a motion.
Yeah, I'll motion to issue a type 2 negative determination for the request for determination of applicability for 40 to 42 Coleraine Street.
Second.
All right, so we have a negative determination type 2 seconded. Any discussion or special conditions? It sounded like you wanted to say straw wattle for the erosion control.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, you know, digging in silt fence maybe a little bit disturbing. But you gotta have something. So I would say wattles, and I don't know if we want to specify a size or just let that maybe the applicant come to the agent with proposal for specifics. Like, I don't know.
If you guys want to specify something now to avoid the middleman, I'm fine
Yeah.
with that. Hopefully it's something locally available at Farmer Supply, or
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
I mean, if you have a really big stockpile of material, you want a bigger wattle, you know, I
Yep.
don't remember what sizes they come in, like a 12-inch or whatever, but if it's, you know, like you're just doing one tube at a time and your soil disturbance is pretty minimal, I bet a 6-inch would probably be fine. That's just my opinion. I don't know if any other commissioners have thoughts on that.
I would say I don't have straw wattle sizes memorized at the moment, so I would be fine saying greater than or equal to 6-inch straw wattle.
Perfect.
All right, any other discussion or special conditions? I guess one thing that we usually say for people who are doing any sort of digging is to not work to work in dry conditions, not working
Yep.
in the rain, which
Sure.
Mitch, do you know how we usually word that condition? I think we've kind of modified it over time.
Yeah, I think something like work to be done on days forecasted to be dry. I think there's a specific amount of rainfall we use.
Yeah, forecasted less than a
Quarter-inch?
I think it's quarter inch.
I mean, I assume they're probably not going to want to do the work anyway if
Yeah.
it's raining, but
Yeah.
We'll get our rain gauges out.
yeah. All right, anything else before we vote? All right, hearing none, we will vote on the negative determination type 2 for 40 to 42 Coleraine Street with the 2 conditions as discussed, 2 special conditions. Erica,
Aye.
Kristen,
Aye.
all right, and I am also an aye. All right,
Great.
so thanks. Mitch will be in touch with the paperwork and
Fantastic.
should be good to go.
Does that need to be recorded?
I don't believe those need to be recorded. I think only orders of conditions. Is that
Yeah,
right,
already
Mitch?
don't.
Yeah. No, they do not need to be
They do
recorded.
not. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
But there
Appreciate
is
your time.
there is like a waiting period
Oh, yeah.
where technically you're not supposed to start working, or you can start working, but people are allowed to appeal.
Appeal,
And
right.
so
It's at my risk.
Yeah,
yeah,
10
so it's at
days.
your risk. Yeah.
Yep, no problem.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Have a great night.
You too. All right. Before 8 o'clock, we made it to our last public hearing here. All right. So next on our agenda, we have a public hearing, notice of intent resurfacing at Cheapside Street, Montague City Road, DEP file number 1680359. And I'll just read the agenda summary here. The proposed work consists of roadway resurfacing and related work beginning approximately 340 feet east of the intersection with Route 5 on Cheapside Street and ends approximately 375 feet past the intersection of Mountain Road. The project will provide new roadway pavement and markings, add pedestrian and bicycle accommodations to provide safety for modes of transportation, and improve the inadequate drainage system by replacing deteriorated drainage structures and pipes and adding structures where needed. All right, looks like we have someone here from Mass DOT.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm going to share my screen.
All right. thanks for sticking with us so far.
All righty. Good evening, commission members. My name is Billy Lee. I'm the District Environmental Engineer for MassDOT District 2. Tonight, I will be presenting on the Mass DOT project, Greenfield resurfacing and related work on Cheapside Street and Montague City Road, which Travis just gave a lovely intro to. I am also joined by Yichao Xu, who is our project designer, and Beth Parent from Tetra Tech, who prepared the stormwater report for this project. So this slide just shows the project location and the limits of construction. Erica, Kristen, and Travis, I think you guys have all seen this project when we came for the RDA hearing. The project limits have not changed since then. So the project begins at the railroad bridge near Route 5 and ends on Mountain Road approximately 300 feet past the three-way intersection with the General Pierce Bridge up here. The total length of the project is approximately 1.1 miles long, and as I'm sure you can tell from this picture, a large majority of it is within the 200-foot riverfront area for the Deerfield River. So just some photos here representing the project need. So the roadway pavement is deficient and requires some repair. You can see some of the crack and patching in this photo here. There's suboptimal roadway drainage. And the outfalls are in need of repair. All of that outfall work does not include any new discharge point. And then we are also going to be improving pedestrian accommodations. Right now, the pedestrian accommodations are not ADA compliant, so that will be changed. I've gone ahead and summarized the work activities in the resource areas. First being improvement to existing and installation of new sidewalk within the 200-foot riverfront area. All of that is considered redevelopment. Repair to the bridge sidewalk within bordering land subject to flooding. A little bit more clarification on that coming in the next slide. Repair of existing drainage outfalls within the 200-foot riverfront area. Resurfacing of existing roadway pavement within the 200-foot riverfront area, and upgrades to the existing drainage system to meet Mass DOT design standards, also within the 200-foot riverfront area. So just a summary of the resource area impacts, and obviously this is all included in the NOI. Permanent impacts are approximately 9,700 square feet. Temporary impacts are approximately 14,500 square feet. You got your total impacts, 1,500 within the inner riparian zone, and then 22,700 of the total impacts between 100 and 200 feet. All the impacts are occurring in previously developed riverfront area, and those previously developed riverfront areas are categorized as existing roadway, residential homes, and lots. So this slide is just to clarify what is mapped as bordering land subject to flooding. So this is right under that, like as you're approaching the train bridge here, there's a bridge sidewalk. As you can see in this clipping of the firm map, and the whole map is in the NOI package and everything. The zone A is just barely hitting sort of this curve right here. So we took a look at some of the elevations in this area. So the firm map is actually in NGVD 29 datum, and all of our stuff is in NAVD 88 datums. So I'll just be speaking in NAVD 88 datum. So if you're confused as why the base elevations on the map are different from the numbers I'm saying, it's because of the conversion. So the base flood elevation, according to FEMA in this area, is 145.6. The ground elevation at the bottom of this bridge right here, if you guys can see my cursor, is 142. And again, the base flood elevations are all approximate. You can see right here, it says approximate scale. And then the existing bridge deck elevation is 158 feet. So, the work that's going to be included here is in this area right here where there's this massive crack and the rebar is showing, there's going to be full depth, repair to the bridge sidewalk there. But other than that, it's just going to be patching any cracks. So while it is mapped in Zone A. Because of the difference in elevations, this really isn't bordering land subject to flooding. It's really a sidewalk bridge that's over bordering land subject to flooding. So just a little bit of clarification on that resource area there. Our stormwater management and construction mitigation measures are stormwater control measures, which are deep sump catch basins for the roadway catch basins that we are implementing for this project. And then the construction mitigation measures are pretty standard: stabilization and restoration of all the disturbed areas following the project activities, siltation barriers composed of compost filter tubes or equivalent, and then stockpiling and staging located away from resource areas and stormwater conveyances. Just some highlights on regulatory compliance. Obviously, the resurfacing is a minor activity within riverfront area under 10.022B2. This NOI is being filed as a limited project for redevelopment in the riverfront area. And then the general performance standards are met to the maximum extent practicable, which is cited under 10.58. And obviously, because this is redevelopment in the riverfront area, it's maximum extent practicable rather than meeting all the standards as required for a new development project. So that's kind of my presentation that I have prepared for you all. I'm gonna go ahead and try and find my cursor and stop sharing my screen. There we go. And I can reshare if anybody wants me to pull up anything in the NOI or the plans, but I figured I would just take questions.
All right, thank you. Does anyone have any questions right off the bat? I know we got some comments from DEP that we could go to as well, but if
I was just gonna ask for that, yeah. And also to say, Billy, that was a fantastic presentation. You answered so many of the questions right up front, and it was a nice, tight little bow. That was a great
Thank
presentation.
you. I'm so glad you felt that way. I felt the agenda, and I was like, I got to keep everybody like on the edge of their seats.
I loved it.
So I have the DEP comments in front of me. I don't have them pulled up, but I can kind of read through them, or if
Okay.
you guys have them and you want to follow them up.
yeah, I can bring it up here. So yeah, maybe if you could just
So
kind of
comment
respond
number
to these.
one, funny enough, Mark Stinson told me that I discovered Graves Brook for the first
Yeah.
time in 50 years. So that's currently not showing up on any USGS quads. So it just has a 100-foot buffer, no riverfront area. That 100-foot buffer overlaps with the 200-foot riverfront area. So it doesn't really change anything in the project. We just included that in the NOI because it is a resource area that's present, or at least adjacent to the project.
Yeah, if I could add in,
Yeah.
by the way, Graves Brook is the stream that comes out on that last project, and on the maps, it's actually mapped flowing the wrong way. And in Highland Park, if anyone knows Highland Park in Greenfield, there are wetlands there, and it splits and it flows two different directions. One of it becomes Graves Brook and goes north and comes out where that last project was, and then the other one comes down the hill this way and comes out here. And it's mapped as Graves Brook, but it's kind of two different streams, so it's
Yeah.
very confusing.
Should
And it
be a
only shows
west
up on
branch.
Apple Maps. It doesn't show up on Google Maps.
Yeah.
So just ordinance, not Wetlands Protection Act.
Yeah, riverfront area
Okay.
purposes.
Yep. And then comment number 2 was why I kind of was discussing all that elevation information. So, it's mapped as bordering land subject to flooding, but it doesn't have the ecological function of bordering land subject to flooding because it's raised above that actual BLSF.
And you're not replacing those footings, are you?
Nope, you're not touching anything down there.
I have to say, I did not know that that was a bridge sidewalk before this project.
Mhm.
I just assumed
Me
it was
neither.
like part of the road,
Right.
Yep.
Very interesting.
And then number 3, so I guess what Mark was saying here was that we had kind of like delivered this NOI sort of going into all the details of the performance standards, which I guess is really only required for the new development, but for redevelopment, you're still supposed to, maximum extent practical, try to meet those. So it looks like these 4 bullet points are kind of where we fall within the redevelopment of what's to be included. So what we're proposing is the deep sump catch basins under, stormwater management. But, in preparation for this, if that wasn't sufficient to the Conservation Commission, we could look into item number 4, which is removal and proper disposal of noxious but otherwise legally located materials, which I believe is a fancy term for saying trash removal. We did evaluate planting of indigenous plant species because that would have been my personal choice. But unfortunately, all of the area that we're disturbing, where we are going to be reseeding, we have to do non-native seed mix because it's private property. Landowners, they want grass, they don't want native seed. So that wasn't really a feasible option, unfortunately. Oh, Travis, you're muted. I see you
Sorry
talking.
about that. It popped up. You are muted. And then the 4th comment from DEP was just for us, saying that the commission should carefully review compliance with Stormwater Standard 9, as well as construction period best management practices for Standard 8.
I feel like we should maybe talk about number 3.
Yeah, I think, I was gonna go back to number 3. So, I mean, to me, it sounds like he's saying, is Mark saying that this should be filed differently as a riverfront redevelopment instead of the limited project that it was? Is that what he's trying to say?
No, I don't think he's saying that it needs to be filed differently. I think so in the NOI, I have a whole section where we talk about the performance standards and how we're meeting them. And that's typically something that people do for new development and not redevelopment. So I think what he's saying is that was kind of in excess.
Mm.
But yeah,
That's how I read it too.
I'm a little confused by this 3rd comment as well, but I think that we filed correctly.
That's how I read it too, because limited projects, you get a little bit more wiggle room than if it's just new development. But still, applicants are required to comply with performance standards such as, I don't think you can reduce impervious surface area, can you?
No, unfortunately not. The nature of this project is improving pedestrian accommodations, which requires the increase of impervious surfaces. And we can't really narrow the road anywhere. So yeah, unfortunately, to meet the project goals, that just isn't feasible.
Can you talk a little bit more about how you would improve stormwater management? Because I think that it's no mystery to us that the existing stormwater management there is pretty crummy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So right now, what is proposed is in terms of the plans of themselves, there are going to be more catch basins in the low points. And that's actually like a Mass DOT design standard. So that will prevent kind of that one picture that you guys saw where the catch basin was backed up and there was roadway flooding. So that should address that issue. That's kind of what we mean when we say deficient drainage system. And then all of those catch basins that are going in and whichever catch basins are being replaced are going to be deep sump catch basins, which allows, settlement for suspended solids before they get discharged through the outfalls. So that's really our stormwater piece of this project.
Okay, so just suspended solids, no other water treatment.
No, and I mean, I will just for your guys' information, and I brought this up kind of at our last hearing. Right now, the 3 outfalls are creating a lot of erosion. So replacing those outfalls with concrete splash pad and geotextile fabric will, reduce erosion in the future. That's not exactly something that gets points in terms of NOI filing, but I did just want to bring that up to you guys so you understand that's a slight improvement, but not something that scores any points in stormwater.
Are the deep sump catch basins managed on some kind of routine operation and maintenance schedule so that all that sand, for example, that accumulates down there gets pumped out so it doesn't just...
Yeah, it gets back backed and jetted. This is
How-
a state-owned highway, so all of our state-owned highways are a part of our greater District 2 maintenance and operations plan.
How frequently do you guys manage those?
I don't know that question off the top of my head. That's a question for our maintenance group. I don't know. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have the answer for that, but it is, statewide Mass DOT maintained state highway.
I was just gonna share, just because he specifically called out stormwater standards 8 and 9, just to show what those actually are. Number 8 is a plan to control construction-related impacts, including erosion, sedimentation, and other pollutant sources during construction and land disturbance activities. Construction period erosion, sedimentation, and pollution prevention plan shall be developed and implemented. And 9 is a long-term operation and maintenance plan shall be developed and implemented to ensure that stormwater management systems function as designed. And you were just saying that there is a long-term operation and maintenance plan that DOT has that this would be
we have a
covered
state-
under.
Yeah, statewide
Mhm.
for all state highway layouts.
I know we had, I know the plans were like a lot of pages because it's like such a linear project.
Yeah.
I don't know if, do we want to maybe kind of go through that a little bit just to see some of the major points?
Yeah, sure. I can pull that up.
Because I think I was trying to remember the RDA. I think it was like because of the work on the outfalls. I think
Yes,
that was why.
exactly.
So maybe if you could just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah,
what
absolutely.
it's gonna look like.
I'm gonna bear with me while I navigate. Can you guys see my? Oh, no,
Sure.
no.
I can't see it yet.
Okay, now you guys can see it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So this is, let me just zoom out really quick. This is Cheapside Street coming right off at the beginning of the project on the west side. So there's one drainage outfall right here. And as you can see, we have, I'm gonna zoom way in for you guys. As you can see, this kind of like brick pattern, that's the proposed erosion sediment controls. So you can see a nice outline of all of our work there. And then this rectangle is going to be the head wall that will be replaced. And then this detail right here is for stone for pipe ends over crushed stone over geotextile fabric. So that's kind of that splash pad that prevents future erosion in this area. So let's see, that's the first one, and they all pretty much look the same, and they're all on Cheapside Street. So, this is the second one. Again, same kind of configuration. Stone for pipe ends over crushed stone over geotextile fabric with the erosion sediment controls clearly outlining that work area. And then the third one is right over here across from Hope Street, right there. And actually this was the same location for that emergency permit that we filed over the winter, but it's still going to be constructed per these plans. And that's it. Those are the drainage easements, or sorry, drainage outfalls.
And
There's two?
No, that was three.
Three. That was
Okay,
three.
sorry.
That's okay.
And
They all
so, yeah. So the only ways they're changing is the head walls are going to be replaced and the stone and the geotextile fabric.
Yes, exactly. It's I don't want to say it's a replacement in kind because what's out there is so deficient, which is why this one ended up having to be replaced by an emergency certification a couple months ago anyway. But like the head walls have kind of cracked, some of them have popped off, and it's just creating the serious erosion in that area.
So where is the deep sump catch part of this equation?
The deep sunk catch basins are all of the catch basins on this project. So anywhere you see this kind of like braided pattern right here where it says CB, those are all going to be deep sump catch basins.
But that's not existing.
No, I believe that the existing catch basins that are out there are deep sump, but we're adding catch basins to all the low points. And then the additional ones will also be deep sump catch basins.
I think that's why we did a positive determination, because if they were replacing stormwater
that's
system
part of
that
it
was
too.
there,
Drainage, yeah.
then
Mhm.
it would have been a negative determination. But since they were adding
Yeah.
to the stormwater system,
Yeah.
that
Yes,
wasn't exempt.
yes.
Yeah, I
I'm
think the
referring now
splash
to-
pads, yeah.
So yeah, so that's pretty much like, I would say Cheapside Street is sort of the area that we were focusing on last time, and then all that proposed sidewalk.
Hey, Billy, can I chime in for a
Oh
little
yeah,
bit?
go ahead, Chow.
So I can explain why because this roadway, we just changed the most of the edge of pavement. So the existing catch basin cannot be retained. We have to remove and replace with the deep sump catch basins. We don't just literally adding any catch basins only for all the low points. We have to add 2 catch basins at each side of the roadways, which is based on the Mass DOT design project design guide. Typically, this location, this is a low point. You can see there's only two existing catch basins on each side of the roadway. Now we're adding another one at each side of the roadway in order to just catch all the storm runoffs.
I have a question for you guys. I'm not an engineer and I'm not a stormwater expert, so forgive me for my naivete here, but the Deerfield River, which is immediately down gradient of these new stormwater release points, is a cold water fisheries habitat. So maintaining, I guess protecting that from thermal loading is something that I think about. And I'm just curious if there's any way these new stormwater outfalls can mitigate thermal loading in any way, or if they've already been designed with that in mind.
Yeah, so let me see if I have a picture of the outfalls. So this is actually the outfall that got replaced. Can you guys see my PowerPoint? Are you still
Yeah.
seeing? Okay.
Yeah.
So this photo right here kind of shows it because of I don't know if you've like kind of peered over the edge, because when it's full leaf out, this area is really hard to see like into the riverfront area, but it is really steep. So it's basically like the state highway layout. And I mean, even here you can see how steep it is. And then it just drops off right into the Deerfield River. So there really isn't any real estate for something that would like account for thermal loading. What I will say is that, the Deerfield River is a cold water fishery. I personally am a fly fisher and frequently fish the Deerfield. So what we're proposing is an improvement to stormwater than what's currently out there.
So you're not cutting any trees.
Each hour, are there any tree cutting spec for this project? Do you know?
I don't believe so.
No.
Within the 200-foot buffer zone.
Yeah,
We
I
do
don't.
have to cut the 2 trees. Just need to coordinate with the utility poles and the concrete sidewalks.
Mhm.
Like I'm
And
looking
all
at
of
that
these
silver
really
maple
big
right there in
ones.
that picture and wondering, does that have to be
So-
cut?
This is the location of the emergency certification, and it did have to be cut because it was growing into the pipe in the head wall.
And do you own any land kind of within I don't know how far the right of way off the road extends onto that slope, if there's any.
it's very limited, which is kind of why we were limited in what we could propose. So if you see the 1900 SHLO, that
Mhm.
dotted line, that's our state highway layout.
So it looks like it just extends kind of down
Like,
around
yeah,
the outfall and then back
right.
up.
But
Exactly.
you've got a little bit of room at the outfalls to do something, like that doesn't necessarily need Mass DOT road shoulder seed mix, right?
Yeah, so we could definitely propose native seed mix for those tiny little small areas, but it's not significant. So I just didn't want to misrepresent that because a lot of the area where we have to reseed is residential lawn. And not everybody loves native plants like we all do, and they're just like, hey, you guys planted a bunch of weeds.
I will
So,
say also that that native seed mix is really expensive, and I don't see it thriving on a steep slope where there's active water being discharged, but maybe something woody if you've got the room. It's hard to see. Can't see what the scale is at this zoomed in layer,
yeah.
but
Here, let me
Well,
see.
and then if you plant something woody, then you get a situation like that tree where it's it's growing
Yeah.
into it and has to get cut down, though, right?
unless it was something like
Like a
Comptonia
shrub.
or like a sweet fern.
Hmm.
That's not really woody, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, what I can say that this isn't what's currently proposed, but just kind of throwing ideas around. What we could do is spec native seed mix, and have it wouldn't at this point, we wouldn't really probably wouldn't be planting woody stuff in that drainage easement area for what Travis was just saying, because
Yeah.
we're kind of we're trying to fix that problem at these outfalls, so that we don't have to go in there and do like all this maintenance to maintain them. But we can definitely add that into our contract documents and where it's feasible, add native seed mix. But it's not going to be a large area that gets seeded with that, unfortunately, just because of the constraints of the project footprint.
Yeah, and I will say generally our conditions do specify native planting when reseeding in resource areas
Yes.
or
Yeah.
something like that.
Mhm. Any other questions on while we're on the plans?
Yeah. Or any other questions from conservation commissioners before we go to open it up to the public?
Yichao, do you know how many trees are going to be cut? How many mature trees? I mean like over 4 inches DBH or something.
We just proposed 2 trees to be cut. I think around the station, if Billy can still share the
Yeah.
screen, I think it's a 142 something. Because it's a pretty steep slope area. We need to build the sidewalk.
Mhm.
So the trees has to be removed.
Yeah. Okay, so it's over here. I also don't think that this is even in an area that's jurisdictional if it's
Oh.
over here. Because this is station 142 or 141 each hour.
Do you have to stump
141.
them? Oh, sorry.
Say that again, each hour. Sorry. Oh. Each hour, do you know where the trees are on this one? Am I close?
You're
Oh,
not
I'm
sharing
looking
your
at my
screen right now.
screen.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
I think we were waiting for you to share it.
Yep. Okay, give me.
I think it's you see that? Oh no, 140, 144.50. You see the right up the leader, remove trees.
Mhm.
The
Yeah, right here.
Hmm.
So
As I
that's
said, we have to coordinate with these utility poles. We don't want to relocate
Oh,
utility
yeah.
poles.
And those are outside the 200-foot riverfront area. You can see the line right here.
okay.
Those are like kind of in the middle of the project where it dips out and then it dips back into the riverfront area on Montague City
Gotcha.
Road.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we are not proposing cutting any trees around to replace the head walls.
Okay.
Except the one that was already cut with that emergency
Yes.
certification. I know you showed on the plan where the erosion controls are going to be. Do you know what type of erosion controls are going to be used?
Yeah, so our specs basically say compost filter tube or equal as approved by the engineer. But compost filter tube is the Mass DOT preferred.
Okay.
We may as well bring up the heritage thing, I guess. It looks like you've got a response letter.
Oh,
Yeah, so I think in the appendices, we have our no take and then also the determination letter after we sent them the NOI.
So will not adversely affect prior or estimated habitat, so.
Yeah, that's good to know.
And then it says specifically, it is our opinion, this project appears to meet the state listed species performance standard for the issuance of an order of conditions.
Okay. Any other comments or questions before we go to public comments? All right, I'm not hearing any, so at this time, 8:32 p.m., I'll open it up to any public comments on this project. If you would like to make a public comment, feel free to unmute and introduce yourself. All right, I'm not hearing any public comments. I don't see anything in the chat, which we shouldn't be using anyway.
Mm.
All right, any public comments? Last chance. I guess I'll go ahead and close the public comment period, 8:33. Anything else from the commissioners, or I guess we have either, any questions or comments for the applicant, or we could have a motion to close the public hearing if we feel like we have enough information. And then at that point, we could either motion to either deny the project or approve it and issue an order of conditions, or that can wait until the next meeting also, as we did with a previous project.
No questions from us.
I feel like I've got all my answers here. I'm just a little disappointed that there isn't more from the applicant to improve over existing conditions. I know that you're concentrating on safety concerns and flooding concerns, but in terms of resource area improvement, I thank you as a citizen of Greenfield, but just in terms of this particular review.
Yeah, understandable. I think this project definitely just has a lot of footprint constraints, but definitely heard.
Yeah, I think all my questions are answered. Erica, are you good?
Yeah, I'm good. Mhm.
Somebody want a motion to close the public hearing?
I will motion to close the public hearing for Cheapside Street, Montague City Road, notice of intent, and I don't have the DEP file number handy, I'm sorry.
I had it open. DEP file number 1680359.
I'll second that.
All right, so we have a motion to close the public hearing. I'll do a roll call vote on that. Kristen,
Aye.
Erica,
Aye.
and I am also an aye. Do we want to vote on approval or denial and orders of conditions tonight?
I would say defer if we had any further information coming from the applicant, but I don't think we do.
Yeah,
So we may as well just button her up.
okay.
I don't know, that's my opinion.
Yeah,
do you guys
that's
think?
fine. That's fine. Yeah. I mean,
So,
that's how we
you
usually
mean-
do it.
yeah.
Do you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the project on Cheapside Street for the road repairs and stuff, and whatever that number was, Travis.
DEP file number 1680359. All right, we have a motion to approve. I'll second that. All right, I guess we can vote on that and then a motion
Oh.
to issue order of conditions after
Sorry, I was thinking about orders already.
that. Okay, so voting to approve the project. Erica,
Aye.
Kristen,
Aye.
all right, I'm an aye. And then I'll just go ahead and motion to issue an order of conditions for DEP file number 1680359.
Second.
And then do we have discussion on that? Kristen, it sounds like you're coming up with some special conditions. you
I was
wanna
just
see.
thinking about it. I mean, we always have a condition in there on native plants in resource areas, but you know, do we have to qualify that with you know, like Billy was saying, you know, what they can and can't do on property that's outside their right of way? I don't even know how we would word that.
Hmm.
And do we have any flexibility for any woody plants at all? Or is this just seed mix?
Is that a
We
question
just
for the
rewrite
applicant?
the,
Sorry, Mitch, go ahead.
should we just rewrite that condition about native and just say aside from people's lawns?
We're practical,
Yeah.
and we're allowed.
Yeah, because that native seed mix is really expensive. It's like really expensive.
So you were saying native seed mix.
Within DOT's right of way in resource areas. Does that make sense?
Does that make sense, Billy?
Yeah.
Okay. Making sure we're not coming up with conditions that aren't feasible.
Yeah.
I guess my only concern would be in the areas where, like we were talking before about the outfall areas
Like
where
it's just gonna
like
get
not
washed out.
ish.
Yeah. That's where I was wondering if you could do something like, what's the common name? Sweet fern or something that's like, it's not too robust. It's native.
Yeah. Well, I guess what I can propose is if you guys write it how you were just saying it, where it will be like in the area, in the disturbed areas within state highway layout in resource areas. We have folks in our Mass DOT Boston headquarters office who are like landscape architects, and one of their roles is to come to projects, especially ones that have like the native seed item, and then consult on what the appropriate mix is. I personally don't know the appropriate mix, so I would kind of defer to our landscape architect for that, if that's comfortable for you guys for that.
For agent approval, like administrative approval, I mean?
Yeah, we could, yeah, I guess we could do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think typically, I don't think we necessarily ask for the C mix itself, do we? Or do we just say it has to be native and then that's up to
Yeah.
them to figure it out?
Exactly, yeah, and then we're required for it to be native, which it will be, and then our landscape architect will just choose based off of the area, what's the appropriate native seed mix of the native seed mixes.
Yeah. I couldn't really think of anything else for like a condition other, I mean,
Oh,
it seems pretty constrained to,
do you
did you have
guys have
something, Kristen?
sediment bags in the existing catch basins for when you're doing construction? I didn't see that. I'm sorry. Forgot to look.
Yeah, we do propose a SUSAC for all the proposed and existing catch basin, which need to be retained within the project limit. Yes,
Okay.
from the beginning of the construction to the end.
Okay.
And then we also proposed cleaning all the sediments for the catch basin to be retained, and also the retained concrete pipes.
And you'll have a SWIP because it's probably over an acre if it's a
Yeah.
mile long. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Mhm.
Oh, another thing I want to add here, we do also propose the hay mulch to be applied on these low seeded area, which is to be disturbed, to be in order to prevent all the storm water runoff from the open drainage areas.
So, the straw mulch on
Spray on
the
the
disturbed
apply,
area.
yes, on the low seed area,
Mhm.
just in case it's heavy rains just to wash away all the seed.
Yeah, it's such a steep
runoff.
slope. I see
Yeah.
that being
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
precarious. I wish it wasn't riverfront because it would be better to use hydroseed with a tacking agent. But
But most of roadways are curved with catch
Mhm.
basins. It's only the beginning of the roadway project, about several hundred feet against
Okay.
the Deerfield River is open drainage. So we're gonna apply the hay mulch on the low seed areas.
Mm. Mm. Any other conditions or questions, comments? Any of those things? Sounds like, I mean, we'll have our boilerplate conditions about
Mhm.
erosion controls and when they need to be installed and taken out and all that stuff.
Yeah, Mitchell kindly sent those to me beforehand. Thank you, Mitchell. So I've read through this.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Mitch. That does help.
Yeah, no problem.
Because we have had some, I don't think they were DOT project. I think they were more like utility projects where some of our standard conditions didn't apply to them, and then we had to go in and modify them later.
Mhm.
So it's good for those to be reviewed. All right, so it sounds like just the native seed mix within the DOT right of way, specifying that DOT right of way disturbed area. All right, if there's nothing else, we can vote on issuing the order of conditions. Erica,
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
All right, and I am also an aye. So thank you for being here and doing this project and adding some sidewalks, sidewalk safety and accessibility.
Absolutely.
That's all
Thank you
good.
guys so
Mhm.
much for all of the good questions and staying this late. It's greatly appreciated.
Yeah, thank you for staying this late too.
Of course, absolutely. All right, so I guess, yeah, we'll see the order of conditions from Mitch at some point soon.
Yep, Mitch will get those to you.
Wonderful. All right, thanks, everybody. Have a lovely evening.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
All right. We are now at our other business and enforcement update section of our agenda. First, we have 1245 Bernardston Road Solar Development Amendment. And we have someone here to talk about that.
Yes, thank you. My name is Jesse Robertson Dubois. I'm with Blue Wave Energy here on behalf of BWC Millbrook LLC. We also have Aaron Sims on the screen as well. This is, I think, really in some ways a clarifying question. Just to remind everybody, this is a solar project where our intention is to establish vigorous habitat-friendly vegetation and use sheep grazing as the primary vegetation management control in the array long term. And what we're wrestling with is we would like to be able to perform a pre-construction seeding and actually get vegetation established post land clearing, but before array construction, give that vegetation some time to really get well established, just to really ensure we have excellent erosion control, not only in terms of off-site erosion and making sure we are respecting the limits of the site, but also making sure we're keeping all the soils in place on site as well for that longer term goal of having vigorous vegetation. The 100% native seed mix, that's a requirement in the order of conditions, gives us a little pause for that though, because those species can take longer to establish, be more difficult to establish. And so the goal of rapidly establishing that vegetation is sort of running up against how long will that take for the native mix. What we were hoping to do and we talked with the conservation agent about was using some non-native but non-invasive species as an interim measure to do pre-construction seeding with some non-native species in there, and then post-construction follow up with an overseeding of the native species to get them established as a long-term component of the seed mix there. Mitch's concern was that the language in the order of conditions for that 100% native seed requirement may not clearly give him the authority to approve the use of a non-native seed as a component of that seeding mix that we do on a pre-construction basis. There is an additional, sort of the order of conditions does anticipate the use of non-native seed. It specifically talks about rye or other grasses as an interim stabilization if part of the site is going to be open for more than 14 days. So it does feel consistent. But again, because that 100% native seed requirement is so explicit, we wanted to request that the commission explicitly authorize the conservation agent to review and approve the use of non-native seed on a pre-construction interim establishment basis.
All right, thanks.
And I can throw some of that language up on the screen if you don't have it in front of you.
Yeah, I do have it in front of me too. I can share that. While I'm sharing that, Kristen or Erica, if you have any questions or thoughts.
I see no issue with this if it's like an annual rye and it's just a temporary BMP to ensure soil stabilization before the final seeding.
Yeah, I think in an ideal world, we would prefer to use either rye or oats, depending on the seasonality. But then, I guess the question is whether something like a meadow brome or bluegrass or a white clover as part of that mix. That would give us a more vigorous root system and I think better coverage in that interim period. I think long term, it's not going to be persistent or aggressive in terms of moving into the resource areas. But obviously that's up to you. Certainly just a rye or an oats cover will give us a lot. It's just going to there can be some what's the word I'm looking for? Competition with the seed establishment if that those rye is still on site as we're trying to get the native grasses growing later on. So there's sort of that question of will it have somewhat of a depressing effect on the eventual native seeding.
So then the purpose isn't to stabilize the soil, it's to establish better root system for your final seeding?
It's certainly at a bare minimum the fastest, most vigorous growth we can get going, and so the rye and the oats would certainly solve that need. But we would like to be doing that with a perennial grass rather than doing it purely with an annual grass, so that we have good continuity from the pre-construction seeding in the spring through the construction period in the summer, and then once we're doing that native seeding, we aren't dealing with a die-off of one species and an establishment of another species. We like to have better continuity.
I will say, I've seen on other projects the use of an annual rye just to stabilize soil during a difficult time of year to get native seed mix established. But when we start getting into perennial seed mixes that aren't native, I think you're treading into a little bit more dicey waters.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure we've had conditions allowing annuals before, but
yeah, and
yeah.
rye is specifically mentioned in one of the other conditions in the permit as a temporary cover. So I don't see there's any issue there. We just wanted clarification for Mitch to be able to approve it. And I guess I wanted to ask the question, is there any openness to perennial species as part of that? And if the answer is keep it to the annuals only, we'll keep it to the annuals only.
Yeah, I guess I don't have the language in front of me, but
Here,
I could
let
get
me,
it up, or if you could share it. But
yeah,
I mean, I'm not sure exactly what the wording said about the rye, but I feel like it should say
yeah.
annual
So
rye.
the actual language, it was in number 44. It was a temporary cover of rye or other grass shall be established.
Mm.
A little vague,
I
but
see. Yeah, it is vague. I guess I feel like the intent was an annual rye or other annual grass, but
mhm.
Yeah, so condition 44 says if soils are to be disturbed for longer than 14 days, a temporary cover of rye or other grass shall be established to prevent erosion and sedimentation. So it's like a stabilization, best management practice.
Right.
which
And
sounds
our
like that's
goal is to go
essentially
a step beyond that to actually establish it site-wide, establish vegetation, and then give it some time to grow prior to construction of the solar array. So to sort of have the initial land clearing, site stabilization, and then give it a pause, give it some time to grow, and then come back to do the solar construction.
And again, we're only talking about areas in our jurisdiction, correct?
Correct.
So I don't know how big of a footprint that is. I'm pulling up the plan right now, but
I think there was a decent amount that was
oh,
100-foot buffer because it got pretty close to the wetland, I think. I guess my first impression is that seems okay to do with that with like an annual rye.
Okay.
And I guess you could reseed with the annual again, but I know that adds cost and time and effort. But I mean, it almost seems like a good thing that it would be. I mean, you don't want it to totally die out before everything else establishes, but
Yeah, that's my opinion too. And that's, you know, I think what our intention was
yeah,
and what I've seen on
Mhm.
other projects as well, that there's, you know, if you just need to get the soil stabilized, so there's no rilling and gullying. Annual rye seems to be pretty safe choice for resource areas. Yeah,
yeah.
Okay.
I think because I think like the planting, the native plant species, only native may be planted on site. Um, uh, I guess it doesn't say like permanent, only the only permanent species that can be planted, or perennial
Right.
species. But I guess I feel like that's kind of the intent is if it's a perennial species, it should be, I mean, or an annual native. But
Okay. And
yeah,
and so if I'm understanding correctly, the feeling is that the existing order of conditions language at 44 authorizing rye or other grass as a use of an annual species is adequate without additional authorization. I think Mitch had a concern of whether it was within the scope to say go ahead and do a site-wide seeding of those annual species, as part of that. And I think
yeah,
I'm hearing the commission say you don't see that as a conflict.
yeah. I personally don't see that as a conflict.
Yeah,
Do you, Kristen or Erica?
no, and
yeah,
It kind of sounds like that's the intent because
yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, I think most sites, they're not disturbing the whole site and then trying to stabilize the whole site. Like, this is kind of different than other types of construction projects. So, but I think that still applies kind of the same way. It's just this time it applies to like the whole site if you're stabilizing the whole site.
Okay.
But I think that's where if you were doing that and you were doing a perennial species, then I think that would be in conflict with the existing.
Yeah, my concern is, I think the perennial species using the all native species, we just don't have a reasonable chance of getting good establishment in the sort of early period of to be able to accomplish that pre-construction goal, to come back before doing the solar array construction. So we will, I think, need to just proceed with the annual cereal rye and oats at that point.
Mhm. Mitch, does that does that all make sense to you? Does that
Yeah, that makes
clarify?
sense. Just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, and I think since we're not like changing anything, we don't need to.
Yeah, I think it definitely falls under condition 44. So that works.
Yeah, yeah,
There
Okay,
is
great.
there is condition one, just to make sure logistically. Condition one is where we are supposed to submit the seed mix. We've done that. That's our final seed mix.
yeah.
It is, we don't need to do anything else for the interim. We've cleared that here. We can use an annual rye as it's described here. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, I don't think that needs to be submitted exactly which one you're using or anything.
Okay.
As long as it's, yeah, an annual.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much then.
Yeah, all right. Anything else you guys need tonight?
We'll probably be in touch soon about pre-construction site visits, which is a requirement, obviously, but
Okay.
planning on wanting to do what Jesse had described, cutting so that we can establish growth before
Mhm,
before spraying it far enough ahead of construction. So
mhm.
we'll be in touch.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, moving along on our agenda, 9 p.m. I'm keeping an eye on the time here. All right, so next we had certificate of compliance, 200 Mohawk Trail, 168, DEP file number 16849 and DEP file number 1680312.
Hi,
Hello.
Mike Petrin with Senior Project Manager with VHB. Here trying to, I guess, clean up the timeline, if you will.
Yeah, it looks like
We've
it. And
got-
thanks again for sticking around until 9
That's
p.m.
all right. It's all right. If I can share screen, I'll go as
Sure.
quick as possible here.
Okay.
And you guys can move on. I know you guys have a lot more to get to. Let me know when you can share screen.
Yep, yeah, I see it.
See my screen. So we have an old order that's still open from 1981 for the original construction of Friendlies that we'd like to close. There were no conditions that we had to provide anything after construction, so we've just submitted a request for a certificate of compliance for this one, and that is for again the original construction of the Friendly site way back in 1981. And the second one is was in 2016, I believe. Yeah, 2016. It was for the addition or the construction of a drive-through, if you will. Essentially, there was a small bump out added here for the window, and we removed some pavement and added an island, a landscaped island. And that required us to submit a statement from myself, being the project engineer, that it was built in substantial completion or in substantial conformance with the design, which it was, and submit an as-built, which we have provided here. So with that, I will stop talking and pass it off to you guys.
All right, thanks. And Mitch, I know you looked into this and you said that first one, just the 1981 was just like boilerplate basic conditions and nothing was really required.
Right,
after the
yeah.
fact,
No,
like you
no
said.
as-built or anything.
And then on the current, on the more recent one, you said you highlighted a few conditions. One of them, I'm just going to share this so you can see what I'm looking at. Condition 19, all catch basin sumps shall be cleaned frequently. But then you said no catch basins are associated with this project, so that doesn't really apply. Grading shall be accomplished so that runoff shall not be directed to the property of others. Pervious
And
areas.
there was no real grading. It was basically
Yeah.
taking out pavement and creating an island, so it's not really pertinent.
Yeah, and then all exposed soils shall be permanently stabilized. And it sounds like it's just that.
Yep.
The area that you identified.
Yeah, it was just that landscaped island. Yep.
And I assume it's still landscaped.
It is. The plantings are still there. Yep. In fact, they're starting to grow over the menu board. Getting quite big.
It looks like a couple of the conditions say this condition is ongoing and does not expire upon completion of this project or the issuance of a COC. There are several that have that language.
Need to get the.
I did list those two in the cheat sheet.
Cheat sheet. Sorry, I'm on the wrong page here.
Oh yeah, complete certification with ongoing
Oh,
conditions 17, 19, 22, 25. I guess it'd be good to just look at those real quick.
I've got them here if you want me to pull them up.
Sure. I was gonna ask if anyone had it handy.
So basically, all soils, aggregate, debris fill, excavated materials should not be should not be put in the wetland area. Again, 19. catch basin sumps, shall not exceed 50% capacity. If I'm going too fast, please.
No, that's fine.
slow
And
down.
and
I'm not trying to eat up any of your time either.
yeah.
Let's see. All detention,
22.
retention, stormwater structures, there really aren't any out here at this property. Let's see,
And then so 25 was that.
25. Everything shall be permanently stabilized.
Hmm.
Again,
Maintenance in a manner that assures permanent stabilization.
yep. So,
Those all seem pretty standard.
yeah, nothing crazy. And again, the last one was submit as-built plans and a statement from the project
Mhm.
engineer that it was complete. So, and we have done that.
I would say these seem pretty straightforward and just things that got overlooked and didn't get filed for previously.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know how that 1981 fell through the cracks. We obviously wouldn't have filed for a new order of conditions if we had one open. So, my apologies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
sure.
I mean, the commission should have caught that too at the time. I wasn't on the commission then. So.
That was actually before me.
I don't think there was like a digital copy in the file, so it probably got missed. I had
Yeah,
to like
yeah.
go in the back and find the paper.
Yeah. All right. So I guess Mitch's suggestions were to issue a certificate of compliance for DEP file number 168049. And then also issue one for DEP file number 1680312 with the ongoing conditions 17, 19, 22, 25. Anyone feel comfortable with that?
Sounds good to me.
All right, I'll just make those motions then. Make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for DEP file number 168049.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion on that? Mitch, is there anything else we need to be specifying when we're issuing a certificate of compliance?
Nope, it's just a checkbox for complete certification.
Okay, that's what I thought. I
Yeah.
just wanted to
Yeah.
double check. It's after 9 o'clock, so after 100 meetings and hearings. All right. Hearing no other discussion, we'll do a vote on issuing that certificate of compliance. Erica,
Aye.
Kristen,
Aye.
all right, and I'm also an aye. So there's one, and then motion to issue a certificate of compliance for DEP file number 1680312 with ongoing conditions 17, 19, 22, and 25.
Second that.
All right, any other discussion on that one? All right, hearing none, we will vote on that certificate of compliance. Erica,
Aye.
Kristen,
Aye.
all right, and I am also an aye. So, Mike, you got your 2 certificates of compliance.
Thank you for your time, and yeah, have a good night.
All right, thank you for tying up some loose ends.
Mhm. Thanks, Mike.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Have a good night. All right, so next on the agenda is any topics not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance of the posting of this agenda. I don't think we really have anything, but I wanted to add that I'm going to that conference on Saturday. Also, Emily is going, and we're going to carpool. If anyone else wants to go, you can come with us. And I'm attending. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I did register this morning, but I'm gonna do 2 hybrids. I
okay.
can't drive out there for the whole day,
That's
so.
fine. That's great. I also wanted to add that one of the things I'm going to is just like a Q&A that's like their helpline, but in person, and you can just ask a bunch of questions. So if anyone has any questions, I know I've thought of a couple so far, but if you have any, feel free to email me and I can ask while I'm there. I feel like this is our one chance to have like an in-person, just ask a bunch of questions and get them answered.
Well, Mark's
So-
always available too.
Yeah, Mark too. Yeah. Mark is very helpful.
Yeah, he is.
So anyway, that's all I wanted to add with that. I don't know, Mitch, I'm guessing there probably wasn't anything else within
No, that's it.
48
Do you need
hours.
like the reimbursement form for that,
Oh yeah.
for the
So
conference?
Yeah.
yeah, I wasn't sure. I kind of thought last time we had to do the reimbursement after the conference. So
Okay.
I was waiting for that, but is that not true? Could I do that now?
I'm not sure,
Okay. Well,
but I'll
I mean
send you
it's
the
all
form either way.
okay, thanks. It's almost after the conference now. So uh, all right, yeah. All right. Anyone have anything else that came up at the last minute before our agenda? All right. Mitch, enforcement updates for tonight?
No, yeah, I
Okay.
don't know. I thought it'd be like 10 o'clock by now. By the
Yeah,
time we got here.
so Oak Hill Road, they were gonna be here, but I asked Mitch to ask them if they could come the next time because our meeting was gonna be so long tonight. Um, so
Eric
that's
and I
not
we did do a site visit and spoke with them.
okay, great.
I
Yeah.
have a quick question.
Mhm.
The land trust was approached by a landowner. I don't have the information on me offhand, but who owns some land in Greenfield. They were interested in looking into conserving sort of a portion of their property. And
Mm,
it's close to municipal land. I think it's like across the street from the Ridge lot or whatever.
mm,
So I wanted to see whether I could, just run this by this committee. I have to do some more digging, or maybe we can look around, but I think it was owned by the city at one time. So I just wanted to see what the proper, should
yeah,
I send some information to Mitch and, get it on the agenda for some time? And we've got a little time to talk about this, or
yeah,
what would
yeah.
be,
Yeah, I think that would be good. We've had other landowners come to us with potentially wanting to give or sell land to the Conservation Commission. So yeah, I think if we got that on the agenda, we could talk about that and see if we wanted to do like site visit or figure out what the person's goals are. I will also say, as chair of the CPC, that there haven't been any open space preservation projects done through the CPA process yet in Greenfield. So if
Surprised.
if they wanted to, there's so many options. I mean, like if they just wanted like a conservation restriction or something, like the city could pay for that with CPA, like get CPA funding and do that. And I don't know. There's a lot of options. So, but yeah,
okay,
we can talk about all those options.
I'll pass that along then. We can get into the queue.
Great.
Cool.
Thanks.
Thanks, Emily.
Yeah. Okay. Mitch, do we have anything in the project monitoring correspondence site visit scheduling section?
Nope, don't have anything.
All right, cool. So that is the end of our agenda. That went a little quicker than I thought, but it's still
I'm
very late.
So impressed. That was
Yeah,
excellent.
Yeah, good job.
you kept it moving there.
All
Good
right.
job. All right, well,
Uh,
shall I motion to close? Are we done?
Sure.
Second?
All right, we have a motion to adjourn. Seconded. All those in favor of adjourning? Aye.
Wait, who's Stephanie's iPhone? Is that a member of the public that wants to speak, or I'm sorry, did I go too
I-
fast in the motioning to
No,
adjourn?
I think as a member of the public, but
Oh, okay.
I don't know. We had public comment earlier and
Okay, just
they
making
didn't
sure
say
we didn't
anything.
miss anybody.
Yeah. All right. So that was unanimous. So we are adjourned at 9:15.